You open Chrome, you visit a website you trust, and you don't click on any download buttons. But 5 seconds later, an attacker is inside of your system. A new 0-day in Google Chrome was exploited recently, and it's been across all social media and news channels.
April 2026. You open Chrome this morning, check the news, maybe your email, normal stuff. You didn't click anything suspicious, didn't download anything, you just opened a web page, and that was enough. Right now, 4 confirmed security vulnerabilities in Chrome have been actively weaponized by real attackers in 2026 alone. No suspicious link required. Just a browser tab pointed at the wrong website and your device is compromised. But here's what's worse. Even when hackers aren't attacking Chrome, Google is, quietly building a detailed profile of everything you do online, tracking you in ways most people assume incognito mode stops. It doesn't. Google knows you think it does. The attacker nobody is talking about.
Just a regular web page, okay? Regular innocent web page. Then they would send this page to the victim. The victim or the user here would look at the page as just any other link or any other page, right? They would click on the link without any interaction. Once the link is clicked, the payload the attacker inserted inside the page gets executed.
Let's start with what's happening right now. Throughout 2025, Google patched 8 actively exploited 0-day vulnerabilities in Chrome, all classified as high severity, all added to CISA's known exploited vulnerabilities catalog. These weren't theoretical lab discoveries. These were flaws that real attackers were weaponizing against real users, including state-sponsored groups and commercial spyware vendors. 8 0 days in a single year in the browser you use for everything: your banking, your email, your work documents, and 2026 isn't improving things. In April 2026, Google fixed the 4th Chrome vulnerability actively exploited in 0-day attacks since the start of the year. This one, tracked as CVE-2026-5281, sits inside Dawn, Chrome's web GPU layer, and allows attackers to trigger memory corruption that can lead to full device compromise. Just a month earlier, in March 2026, 2 more 0 days were patched simultaneously: CVE-2026-3-909 and CVE-2026-3910. Both were already being exploited before Google even knew they existed. No file download, no phishing link. A user simply had to visit the wrong web page. That's the part that should stop you cold. The attack requires nothing from you except opening Chrome and going online. The websites involved aren't dark web corners either. Attackers compromise legitimate sites, inject malicious code, and wait. Millions of users visit. The exploit runs silently. Nobody knows anything happened until it's too late. How bad is full device compromise? Actually,
now when the attacker gets access read-write primitives on the renderer, and then they will be able to escape the sandbox via the vulnerability in V8, they will move from tab access to full system compromise.
The phrase gets thrown around in security reports, and it starts to sound abstract. It isn't. In more advanced attack chains, Chrome vulnerabilities can be combined to bypass Chrome's sandbox protections entirely and gain deeper access to the underlying system, potentially resulting in full device compromise. What does that mean in plain terms? It means the attacker can read your files, activate your camera or microphone, log your keystrokes, steal saved passwords, access your cookies, which lets them log into your accounts without even needing your password, extract session tokens for your banking apps, your email, your work systems. And here's the part that makes security professionals lose sleep. Chrome 0 days are frequently exploited by government-sponsored espionage campaigns using sophisticated commercial spyware. This isn't script kiddies in a basement. These are nation-state intelligence operations and professional mercenary hacking groups. They find Chrome vulnerabilities, weaponize them, and deploy them against specific targets: journalists, activists, government officials, corporate executives. Before Google has any idea the vulnerability exists, Google's threat intelligence group tracked 90 0-day vulnerabilities exploited in the wild across all vendors in 2025, up from 78 the year before. And researchers note that AI tools are now accelerating both vulnerability discovery and exploit development, meaning the window between a flaw being found and it being weaponized is shrinking. The pace isn't slowing, it's accelerating. The incognito. Now, here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Because most people assume they have a private option. Use incognito mode. Problem solved. A browser privacy test run in 2026 through the Electronic Frontier Foundation's Cover Your Tracks tool produces results most users wouldn't expect. Running Chrome in incognito mode returns the same outcome, a unique fingerprint and weak protection against tracking. Private browsing doesn't change that result. What's a browser fingerprint? It's not a cookie. You can't delete it. Chrome identifies browsers through dozens of small characteristics. Screen resolution, installed fonts, GPU behavior, time zone, and rendering quirks. Combined, these create a stable identifier that persists even after cookies are deleted. So you clear your cookies, switch to incognito, think you're invisible. You're not. Your browser still looks exactly like your browser to every website you visit. The fingerprint travels with you. It's unique to you, and it can't be cleared. A privacy researcher documented at least 30 distinct fingerprinting techniques that currently work against Chrome. Not theoretical attacks from academic papers. Real production techniques deployed on millions of websites to identify and track users without their knowledge or consent. And after Google's Privacy Sandbox initiative was quietly discontinued in April 2025, without shipping a single fingerprinting-specific mitigation, Chrome has no defenses against any of them. Compare that to Firefox, which has fingerprinting resistance built in, or Brave, which randomizes your fingerprint so you look like a different person to each website. Chrome has nothing, by design, because Google's entire business model depends on knowing who you are. The cookie reversal that said everything.
Oh, and if you're wondering if disabling the V8 optimizer, like I always recommend, would have fixed this, no, unfortunately, that has nothing to do with it. That would not have mitigated this issue, but that still is a really good thing to do. It protects against like more than half.
The clearest proof of what Google's priorities actually are came in April 2025. For years, Google promised to phase out third-party cookies in Chrome. Third-party cookies are the primary tool advertisers use to track you across different websites. You visit a shoe store, a cookie drops. Now the shoe store's ad network follows you to the news site, the recipe site, the forum you check at lunch. Tracking cookies are why you see the same ad for the same shoes for 2 weeks straight everywhere you go online. Google promised to end this, made announcements, set deadlines, then extended the deadlines. Then in 2025, following extensive feedback and industry pressure, Google announced a user choice model, meaning Chrome users can opt in or out of third-party cookies through existing privacy settings, but Google will not introduce a new standalone prompt asking for cookie consent. Third-party tracking continues as the default. Read that twice. Google spent years telling users it was going to protect them from cross-site tracking. Then, when ad industry partners pushed back, Google quietly reversed course and kept the tracking cookies running. No big announcement, no press conference, just a blog post, a policy update, and third-party tracking continuing exactly as before. The uncomfortable truth is that Google collects behavioral data from 92% of internet users through analytics, search, YouTube, Chrome, Android, Maps, and advertising networks. And privacy settings create the illusion of control. Adjusting them affects data sharing between platforms, but not the collection itself. That last part deserves a moment. Turning off personalization in your Google settings stops Google from using the data to target ads at you quite so precisely. It doesn't stop the data from being collected. The profile is still being built. The behavioral exhaust, every search, every pause, every click, is still being recorded. You just can't see it happening. The $5 billion lawsuit, Google already lost. This isn't conspiracy theorizing. There's a verdict. Google settled a $5 billion lawsuit in 2024 over tracking users in incognito mode and agreed to delete the collected data. The technical capability behind that tracking, however, remains built into the browser. $5 billion, the largest privacy settlement in history at the time, for doing exactly what millions of users assumed incognito mode was supposed to prevent. The lawsuit established in court that Google was tracking people who believed they were browsing privately. Google paid, deleted some data, and kept the browser that made it possible. What Chrome knows about you.
Your online banking, your email, your social media, your saved passwords, your messages. The browser is like your digital wallet, your ID, and your house keys all in one. And if it breaks or it's being exploited, everything becomes vulnerable. And that's why attackers love browser zero-day.
You pull it all together, and the picture is significant. Turning off web and app activity prevents Google from saving your Chrome browsing history and correlating searches with other activity, but it's enabled by default. Most users have never changed it. On top of that, Chrome's browser history captures where you go across the entire web. Your Android device maps your physical movements. Your search patterns reveal what you're worried about, what you're buying, who you're interested in, what health conditions you might have. Research has shown that search patterns alone can predict anxiety disorders with 71% accuracy. A study found that knowing just the 4 websites a person visits most frequently is enough to identify them with 95% accuracy. You're not just a user, you're a data set, a constantly updating behavioral profile used to predict what you'll do next, what you'll buy, what you're vulnerable to. That's what Chrome is for. Not for you, but for the system that monetizes your attention. The browser's doing it differently. Here's what makes this all so frustrating. You don't have to accept any of it. Other browsers made different choices. Firefox blocks third-party cookies by default, uses total cookie protection to isolate cookies so they can't track you across sites, and has fingerprinting resistance built in. Brave blocks ads and trackers automatically, randomizes your fingerprint per session and per site, so you look like a different person to every website, and passed all state partitioning tests in independent privacy audits. These aren't obscure tools for paranoid technologists. Firefox has hundreds of millions of users. Brave has tens of millions and is growing fast. Both are free. Both run the same websites Chrome runs. Both open YouTube, Gmail, Netflix, and everything else without issues. The difference is that Firefox is backed by a nonprofit foundation whose income doesn't depend on advertising. Brave was built specifically to replace Chrome's surveillance model with one that doesn't track you. Neither of them has settled a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit for secretly tracking users in private mode. Where this ends for Chrome 0 days exploited in 2026 already. 90 across all vendors in 2025. AI accelerating how fast attackers find and weaponize vulnerabilities. The pattern is clear. The tools we rely on most are becoming the tools attackers target most. And underneath the security nightmare sits a privacy architecture that was never designed to protect you. A browser that reversed its promises under advertiser pressure, that tracked you in incognito, that fingerprints you through modes cookies can't reach, that settled a $5 billion lawsuit and kept going. You have options. Firefox and Brave cost nothing. Neither has an active exploit being weaponized right now. Neither was built on a business model that requires knowing everything you do online. The choice is simple. The browser that treats you as a product, or browsers that treat you as a user. Google isn't advertising any of this. They're just waiting for you to open a new tab.